The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the Bliss Business Podcast series, Marketing with Purpose, where we explore how to embed purpose into every level of your marketing. I'm Steven Sakach here with my co-host, Tullio, Siragusa, and Mike Liwski. Hey, guys.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Good to see you again.
Yes. So today we are talking about avoiding purpose washing. So in other words, how to make your purpose something you live, not just something you say, right? I think we've kind of all seen examples out there or something where felt like someone was just checking off a list on their sheet there as far as purpose and the causes and things that they are doing. So purpose washing, it happens when a brand claims values it doesn't consistently demonstrate, right? So it's like the cousin of greenwashing, but it's broader. So it can be about sustainability or DEI or mental health or any purpose-driven claim.
Yeah, and Steven, it usually shows up when purpose is treated as kind of like something that just happens in the marketing department or like a marketing slogan, instead of it really being a core belief of the entire organization. And, customers today, they're savvier than ever. They'll notice if there's a disconnect right there between what you're saying and what you do.
And unfortunately, when there's a disconnect, the costs can be huge because what is the cost? You can lose trust. You can get public backlash and sometimes even employee disengagement as a result of it. So once people feel sort of duped, it's hard to rebuild credibility from there.
For sure, Tullio. And there's some common traps that really kind of lead into this problem of purpose washing. In fact, some of the traps that we see all the time is either just jumping into social issues without showing long-term commitment. Really, we saw Pepsi at one point with the Black Lives Matter movement get a ton of backlash with regards to this. Also, others overstate the impact with kind of vague claims or say that they maybe are eco-friendly, inclusive, sustainable, but without really showing some hard evidence and examples of that. And then the last one that we see as far as a trap goes is isolating purpose, again, just to the marketing team, right? While the operations or the supply chain tell a completely different story and live something completely different than that purpose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, your purpose, it has to hold up under scrutiny, right? So from customers, employees, and partners, you can't claim to be people first if your Glassdoor reviews paint a very consistent, awful picture about your company. So you want to be about it through and through.
Yeah, and I mean, it can't be disconjointed. You can't say one thing and then act a certain way. Everything has to align. The customers, the employees, the partners, everything has to align. So let's talk about some examples. There are some brands that get it right. We've talked about this brand many times. We don't get any money from them, by the way, just to be clear. We just like them. We're a great example of this. Patagonia. We'd love to have them as a client, but they don't pay us to say this, so it's not a sponsorship kind of thing. We just really like the brand. The Patagonia is an obvious one because their purpose is protecting the planet, and they prove it through their actions, like donating their profits to environmental causes and embedding sustainability across their entire supply chain. So their entire operation ties into this purpose. It's not just a nice, fancy statement to attract customers that are into that. They live it.
Yeah, they truly do. And another brand that does a great job of this as well is Ben & Jerry's. They recently had done their Justice Remixed campaigns, and one of those things that they have stood behind for a long time. And they've consistently tied even the product launches. They made a very specific product for that Justice Remix campaign. And it's really this consistency We're seeing that not just in the products, but in their marketing campaigns, of activism. And they really get back up the policies that they're talking about. They're also donating to that cause and helping many youths through that cause, and even advocating for that. We've seen them run ads as well, video ads on YouTube, advocating for this specific movement. So whether you agree with it or not, of course, there's just no question that they truly do mean it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They've got some new leadership there, and you never know what can happen sometimes with that. Another example, this is a newer one, is Cost Plus Drugs, Mark Cuban's company. Their purpose is to disrupt the pharmaceutical industry and make prescriptions affordable. And they don't just say it, they list their costs and their markups on every product. And so this radical transparency becomes their proof of purpose. So let's get practical here. If you want to avoid purpose washing, you need kind of a set of guardrails, a way to check whether your actions align with your words. We like to think of this as a quick purpose wash checklist.
Yeah. So the first point, right, is consistency, and being able to really ask yourself, does your purpose show up everywhere across the entire organization, right? Not just, again, to the marketing department or on marketing campaigns, but is it in your supply chain, right? Is it in your HR policies? How about your product design, and even within your customer service? If there's a mismatch anywhere in there, people will notice that.
Yeah, so consistency is key. The second is evidence and transparency. So, and the best way to describe this is customers don't want vague promises like eco-friendly or inclusive. They want proof. That would be, that could be the impact reports that you put out, or measurable goals that you're tracking, that, again, you're creating transparency around. And that radical transparency plays a big role. You say you're going to do something, and then you track it and you show the progress you're making. Even showing when you have setbacks is another way to be honest and truthful about where you are towards living those goals. And not, like Cost Plus Drugs listing their markups. I mean, that's a great way to be transparent.
Very much so.
And the third is employee alignment. I think this one's big because you can feel it when something's off with certain parts of a business if the employees aren't living by it. So would your employees say you live by your purpose? Because if your own team doesn't feel it, the outside world definitely won't.
It'll be a big problem. And so now, fourth on our list as well, out of 5, is the long-term commitment, right? Purpose isn't just this seasonal campaign. It's not just a one-off, donation or some sort of push that you make at a certain time of the year. It's really, a thorough line. It's this consistent thread that should show up year after year after year.
And finally is having clear boundaries. Are you willing to say no to opportunities that don't fit your purpose?
Yeah.
And that's the real test. You can point to a moment where you chose your values over quick revenue. Can you do that? That's a big question to ask yourself as a brand. And that's when people really know you're serious about living your purpose.
Yeah, I kind of think that last point is one that just gets overlooked a lot of times, is how often you can say no about something just because it doesn't align with you. So the bottom line, purpose washing isn't about getting everything perfect. It's about being honest and consistent and willing to back up your words with action. So even if that costs you something in the short term, where you say you have to say no about something, this is where trust is built. So customers, they don't expect perfection, but they do expect honesty and consistency. Hopefully this helps you push through and really connect with your purpose. That's it for this one, and we'll catch you on the next Bliss Business Podcast.